This is the Stop Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hopkins, and I'm here to engage you in thought-provoking, motivational conversations around practicing the art of living in the moment. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm excited to dig deep and offer insights into embracing who we are and where we are at. So my next guest is an award-winning actor, writer, comedian, and producer from Toronto, Canada. He has performed on stages all over North America and can be seen in award-winning television shows and films on networks such as CBC, Netflix, Amazon, USA Network, and BBC America, among others. 14 years ago, in March of 2008, a tumor the size of a grapefruit was found resting on his heart. He was 25. The diagnosis, stage 3 acute non-Hodgkin's T lymphoblastic lymphoma, an aggressive form of cancer that would require equally aggressive chemotherapy treatment over the next 2 years of his life. His Canadian comedy award-winning one-person show, Cancer Can't Dance Like This, toured across the country for 10 years, playing in almost every major city in Canada and parts of the US while raising over $100,000 for cancer-related charities. Most recently, he has penned his memoir called The Comedian versus Cancer, The Show Must Go On, which is available now on Amazon and all major online book distribution platforms. The Comedian versus Cancer is Daniel's first book, and I'd love to introduce you all to Daniel today. Daniel Stolfi. Yes. Hi, Daniel.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for that. That was great.
Amazing. So thanks for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I was just saying that I stumbled across you when I was visiting my dad in Ottawa, and as a fellow Canadian, I thought, hell yeah, this is really cool. I would love to hear a little bit more about your origin story. Honestly, take us back, like way back to when you sort of. I really believe that we are who we are, and
Yeah.
if we look back, we can discover like elements of it. Like, can you
Sure.
take me back to your origin story and how you got here?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to start all the way back. Yeah, born in Guelph, Ontario, which was at the time when I was born, I think the population was 60,000. It was a small city. I come from Italian immigrant parents. My parents were born in Italy, and so I was raised very, very much in that traditional Italian household. Thanksgiving, we were eating lasagna, not turkey. We still continue to make jars of tomatoes in our basement and sausages and all that kind of stuff. Most Italians in Guelph would go to Catholic schools, right? But my parents were public school teachers, so they would feel weird about sending their son to a Catholic school if they're in the public school system. So we did public school. So I was like the only Italian in in the school. So everything about like culturally for people was such a big culture shock for them. But it gave me a uniqueness, and it was like a really, really great thing. I had this big curly hair too, and I'd rock it pretty wildly and loudly. So I was a loud kid. I was very loud. I'm the baby of 3. I always liked the attention, and I was very much somebody who liked getting on stage. And I knew from a very young age that I loved making people laugh. It was something I loved doing. And I'd always use school as like this testing ground of like, how can I get the biggest laugh out of any situation? So I was kind of a class clown, but I was like a classy class clown. I didn't just make a a scene for no reason. I would always just try to tell the right joke at the right time to bring ease to the class, kind of thing. That was always I loved doing it. And then I pursued that after I studied theater for 4 years at the University of Guelph. So I stayed in Guelph. My entire schooling career was basically all on one street in Guelph. My grade school, my middle school, my high school, my university were all on a street called College Ave, ironically enough. I basically grew up on that street, and then I moved to Toronto, and I pursued comedy through the Second City and Bad Dog Theater through improvisation. I joined a bunch of sketch comedy troupes, really honing my skills. And then, of course, diagnosed with cancer, stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which just sort of derailed everything that I was doing.
I'm already really curious about a few things. One is going into the arts in general can be obstacle ridden even within the family structure, let alone,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no experience myself with, pursuing comedy.
Mhm.
But I can imagine that there must have been an element, or maybe not. Tell me, was there any resistance? Was it difficult to say, I want to prove, I want to do this? How did that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was definitely not something that was originally like encouraged. Again, my parents were uh, were teachers, and they always wanted us to go to higher education kind of thing. But I knew my end goal was to be an actor and a comedian, so I kind of was like, well, I'll take theater, and I was like, so kind of in this weird way to. I had applied to other schools, Ryerson, York, but I didn't get in, and Guelph was kind of like my fourth option on the list. And I had only put it on the list because my folks were like, just put it on, just put it as one of the places you'll go. And sure enough, that's where I went. And I went to theater school for 4 years there. Now, theater and acting sounded more legitimate to my parents than me saying I'm going to be a comedian, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of hid it under this like veil. And I remember my sister being like, you don't have to go to, if you want to be a comedian, you don't have to go to, university for it. You should get out there and like do stand up. So there was like encouragement there to just like, forget the higher education thing and go like, just do the thing, like go do the thing. But I went the route of the theater program, and I'm so happy that I did because I met so many people that are still in my life today and helped shape my entire career and the show. And I met my wife in university, and there's a whole crazy story about that too. So all these things happened for a reason, and maybe I wasn't necessarily, I was always trying to like push against it, like I didn't want to be in Guelph anymore. But the people that I met there, and the experiences that I had are still with me today. And I can't imagine a different path at this
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
mhm.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because I hear that, and I think so many of us in the arts hear that sort of idea that, there's something legit, something to fall back on, all this fear-based kind of, I mean, it
Mhm.
is, I mean, yeah, education is great. It's funny how it doesn't get positioned as great, pursue what you want. And
Yeah,
you can, education's great for everything. So why not?
yeah,
As opposed
yeah,
to just in case, right? I can understand that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it
yeah,
makes sense. Okay, so then you got your degree, so you've sort of then you were ready, right? Then you're like, okay, there's my ticket.
yeah.
And
I
what was the
guess.
next thing? Like you guessed. Yeah, talk to me about that. What happened then? Like,
Yeah, I moved to Toronto as soon as I graduated from university. I got a really small apartment in Kensington Market in Toronto, which is this really like kind of like hipstery kind of cool markety kind of place. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm living the dream. I'm gonna get an agent. I went and got my first acting agent, and I had
how did
my
you do that? Did you knock on doors? Did you send
yeah.
resumes? Did
I
you?
sent I got headshots done, maybe the most expensive headshots ever, which was I didn't know anything. So here was the other thing too, is like even though I went to school for theater, they don't really prepare you for the real world of like what it is to be an actor. So we never were taught how to get an agent and how to do this. And I knew I wanted to be a TV and film actor as well. I knew the stage was something that was going to be more of like my place to perform like stand-up comedy kind of thing,
Yeah.
and theater as well, but in a comedic kind of forum, so like sketch comedy and improv and that kind of thing. So I got an agent by basically looking up on Google, how do you get an agent. It was like, here's your resume, put a resume together, get your headshots done, and make your little pitch package, and then follow up call, follow up, check their websites, blah blah blah. So I did that for about 10 agents. Two of them got back to me. One was very sketchy, and the other one was also sketchy, but she took me on. And yeah, that was my first agent, and she got me my first gig, and that was they did a plaster cast mold of my face, and I was a dead Spartan soldier in the movie 300. I don't know if you know that movie. So that was my
I
first
love
gig.
it. I
Yeah, I
love
got
it.
$50 for that one. So,
That's amazing. That's
mhm.
amazing. If you could look back now and tell yourself, because how many years ago are we talking? When was that approximately?
We've been 2005, 2006, so
Yeah.
17 years. Yeah.
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 If you could go back and ask or tell
Yeah.
Daniel, and how old were you then? Like
I would
21?
have been 21,
Yeah.
22, maybe.
Yeah. What would you tell him?
Oh, what I have told him. I think I would have, I think I would have told him not to rush. Don't,
Hmm.
you don't have to push any of this stuff. I was so eager. I was so eager to get my foot in the door and and just say yes to everything. And I had no clue what I was doing, but I was doing it with intention. I was doing it with bravado and confidence. Like, it's like, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make this happen. I wish I knew more. I wish I knew what I know now. I mean, I think you can always say that, looking back on things, but uh, I'm really proud of that Daniel as well, because he wasn't taking no for an answer, and he was going to make it happen no matter what. And so I admire that confidence, and I admire that blind faith, I guess, that I had, the gumption, to
Mhm.
do it. It's like I admire that, because as you get older and as you start to get into the industry and you start to get worn down a little bit, and the reality of what actually goes into why you get a part or why you don't, and kind of you start to question yourself and your ability. Those questions were never there for young Daniel. Young Daniel was going to get everything. Like, young Daniel was after it. Now, cancer was a huge punch in young Daniel's everything: spirit, ego, confidence, all that kind of stuff. So it humbled me, and it made me a lot more mature very quickly too.
Yeah.
I
Certainly,
learned a lot.
certainly
Mhm.
slowed you down, right? Like you said, it's
Oh
such,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's interesting. You talked about, how much you admired young Daniel for really for his just not taking no for an answer, I think is what you said.
Hmm.
And that ability that he had to sort of just say, we're talking about saying no, right? Or talk to me about no. What does no represent to you? How does it show up in your
Hmm.
life?
Well, boundaries and things are something that you, I think, learn how to put up as you get a bit older, realizing that saying yes to the things that don't serve you and that they don't expand you, kind of thing. It's like, I don't have to be worried about disappointing people. You have to know when to say no to certain things, and you have to know when to say yes to certain things, and finding out what those things are took time for me, because I would say yes to everything. Yes was just yes. Yeah, yeah, okay, let's do it. Yeah, how high? Oh yeah, I'll do this. Yeah. And sometimes that would burn me, like it would burn me out, or it would, oh, I got connected with the wrong person, and
Yeah,
I should have
sure.
seen that. The energy wasn't right, and I didn't trust my gut. And now I'm listening to my gut a lot more, and not necessarily every interaction that is always going to be worth it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. In the industry, we are taught to say yes, right? Just take
Mhm.
what opportunity comes along. You never know when the other one.
Yeah,
It's interesting because I also hear a really strong thing about you wouldn't take no for an answer, right? So
yeah,
it's which is cool. I mean, that's a real strength, right?
yeah, yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, in the industry, we get no a lot. I mean, this year I think I've got, or this during the pandemic specifically, I've gotten no more than I've ever have in my life, in my career. And it's about having the resilience to be able to take those no's, I think, and keep moving forward, and try not to take those no's personally. And I think something that's made me a little bit better at that is understanding also, like, when I say no, sometimes it's not because I dislike the person, or that it wasn't any good, or that whatever. It's just, it wasn't the right fit, or
Mm,
whatever, and we're moving on. Everybody else is moving on. Like, nobody's thinking about you as much as you think people are thinking about you, and
mm.
nobody's sitting there going like, that guy's awful. No, like, it's like, oh, he's terrible. No, it's just, no, not not for us, kind of thing. And if you can kind of try to see it that way, it becomes a little bit easier to take, especially as an actor and as an artist and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, look, and easier to say than to actually, do. But I try to stay in that lane, in that mindset. But not taking no for an answer is also just you keep trying. You just keep, if you keep knocking on the door, if the door's not opening, you build your own, and you find other ways in. Like this book, I was told no. I was told no a number of times by the publishers and lit agents, and nobody wanted to take it on. And so, does it sit there and never get made, and I never share it with anybody, or do I sit down, do the work, get it to be in a professional place, and self-publish it? And that's what I decided to do, and I'm so happy I've done that, because it's doing really well. It's being received very well, and it would just literally be sitting there if I just took no as the answer. Nope. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's interesting. I've heard the expression, or what do you think of, like, no isn't no. No stands for next one.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I like it. I've never heard that one before. I like it.
I love that, right? Because then it's, especially for someone like you who describes yourself certainly as a youngster, but we don't really change, right? As hungry, as like next one lights you up clearly, right? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So no's can become actually really cool, because the sooner you get to the no,
yeah,
right,
that's true.
Move on to the next one.
That's right. Just tell me yes or no, because I got to move on.
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
Let's break up already.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're wasting, precious time here. We could be doing other things and moving on. Yeah, it's true. I really like that.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it like that way before, but I like it. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna put it in my pocket. Thank you.
Yeah, no, please. Please. No, absolutely. Sounds like you said no to cancer too, to be honest.
Yeah, I did. I really did. I think I didn't know what I was getting into when I was diagnosed, which I think a little bit of that ignorance into what I was about to endure was a good thing at the time. I think if I had known what I was about to embark on, I would have been a lot more scared. So I went in with this kind of like, okay, like, bring it on. Let's go. I can do this. I was thinking of all the Mario Lemieux and the Saku Koivus and the Lance Armstrongs. And again, I didn't have a great sense of what the actual physical toll that chemotherapy and the emotional toll and mental toll that it took on not just me, but the people around me and my family. And I think what I learned as I was going through it was that a lot of people don't actually know what it is to go through cancer, unless they've either gone through it themselves or been really, really close to somebody who is going through it, and they're there with them like every day. And I think that was also kind of what propelled me to publish my memoir, is kind of get that kind of story out. But saying no to cancer was definitely something that I knew I was going to take each day, and every minute, every hour. It was like running a marathon. It was just like, you're not going to get me, you're not going to get me, you're not going to get me. And I just kept kind of that mentality throughout it all. I knew, and it was a 2-year treatment protocol, right? So it was very long, it was very grueling. And so I had to have the mindset of I mean, no seems appropriate, but like, you're not going to get me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with me, first of all. The parallel to just, we don't know each other, but just what little I know about you already is so clear. Knowing that you wanted to be a comedian, not being the class clown, but rather knowing that you could provide ease to the people around you through humor. That stood out to me.
Yeah.
So you were kind of in some ways looking at it and looking at how you could, let's say, contribute, or how you could use your talent. I hear that. And then I also hear, which obviously you went on to do after your trial with cancer in a big way. I'm also hearing a parallel between the knocking on door phase of your career, where you were being, shut down a lot, saying you can't do this, and yet you kept doing it and created a life of your own, right?
Hmm.
And so on. So it's really interesting. I always find it really interesting. Um, when we look back on our patterns of the way we are, we can find the connections, right? We're so
Mm.
connected. Like you're not, you're, it's all part of it. What do you think of that? When I say that?
Well, uh, it, I believe in that uh, fully. I think it's just sometimes hard to see it, yeah, for yourself. You're just doing it, and it's hard to kind of. And as I tell like these stories sometimes, and as I'm talking to you, I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that, and I did then create a show, and then I did continue to push forward, no matter how much I was getting kind of beat up or said no to, and it, it's weird to look back on it and then see that progress and how this is the pattern. This is what I continue to do, and I don't give myself much credit for it. I'm like I'm not just not doing enough. Like it always feels like it's not enough sometimes, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I in this moment I celebrate you for that, not because you survived cancer, but
Mm.
rather because you are always, again, from what little I know of you, from what I can see, what I'm learning, you use what you've got for the greater good. So I honor you for that. Yep.
Appreciate that. Well, I've always believed that a comedian's job or an artist's job or whatever is to entertain, is to provide that kind of ease. And so I never like thinking about doing it for myself. It always feels like if there's no audience to perform for,
Yeah.
like it's for the audience, right? And I think I had two options. I could have just been done with cancer and moved on, but just kept speaking to me, and I do listen to those pings too, and there's certain things that just speak to you, and if they keep speaking to me, I'm just like, okay, follow that and just kind of go in that
Mhm.
direction. And and one of the biggest challenges is cancer is not funny. It's not funny. This is not a funny thing to go through. But as a comedian, I was like, how can I entertain an audience while telling them my cancer story and making it funny? How can I do that?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a challenge. I kind of took it as a bit of a challenge. Like I can do this, because a lot of people are like, no, you can't. Again,
Mm.
no, you don't do that. Just don't do it. And I was like, watch, I'm gonna do it. And I did. I mean, we won the cat, and I did do it. Which is still hard for me to like say. It's always weird for me to be like pump my own tires that
Mhm.
like I
Yeah.
did it. But it was a funny show. It was a really, really funny show, and everybody was always entertained and inspired at the end of it. There was also moments of levity. Like it was like a roller coaster of emotions, and I think it had to be in order for it to maintain that legitimacy, I guess.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. So so you're not being glib about it, not just kind of making
Yeah.
fun of. You weren't making fun of it. You were actually, taking something really devastating,
Yeah. Yeah.
and providing catharsis through
That's
your
right.
experience.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That is exactly it. Yeah. And resonated. It resonated with a lot of people, and that was amazing. Again, I was only planning on doing the show once because I just wanted to get it out there.
Hmm.
And then after that, I was like, I'll just move. I'll go back to sketch comedy and improv. No, I just won't, be an actor again and film, TV, all that stuff. But the show just kept kind of moving. It just kept People just kept wanting more, and they wanted me to share it over here, share it over there, do it for this charity, do it for that, took it across the country, and it's been an amazing experience. And then now there's this book. It's just kind of like cancer just keeps kind of, you
Just
know,
keeps on giving.
keeps on giving in a weird way.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Can you tell us, sort of take us back? You were
Yeah.
25.
So that's it. I think that's, when we're talking about young Daniel, there's something else I would have told him was like, slow down. That was part of it too. Like, which I think I mentioned, that I lived that kind of lifestyle of a young single guy in the city, pursuing the dream, but a little bit rock star, a little too much rock star kind of stuff. And so what happened was one night I drank too much, and for some reason, one of the things I loved to do was I would just sprint down the sidewalk as fast as I could. There was some black ice. I slipped. I fell pretty hard, and I dislocated my collarbone. It was basically sticking out of my skin almost. Hadn't punctured through the skin, but you could see this bone just kind of sticking up out of my shoulder. And when I had looked in the mirror at my apartment, I don't do well with blood, and I don't do well with gruesome injuries, especially on myself. And when I saw my collarbone the way it was, I fainted, and I cracked my chin on the porcelain sink beneath me, and I passed out and woke up. I don't know how much longer later, with blood all over the place, and I just went to bed, which probably wasn't a good idea. I probably had a concussion, and I was at my ultimate low, and then I fainted again in the shower and almost hit my head on the faucet, and I was like, I could be dead. Like I in that moment, I was like, wow, I almost died. This is the lowest moment of my life. Nothing could get lower than this. And literally 3 months later, I'm diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma with a grapefruit-sized tumor sitting on top of my heart. And it was a major wake-up call for me I was like, is this the universe telling me slow down? Like, is this someone saying, hey, just you gotta settle down, because you're lucky, that could have been it. And then it's like, now you have cancer, now this could be it. So there was a lot of reflection. I had a lot of time to reflect over those 2 years about my life and what's important, and and it gave me a lot of perspective. And I think that comes across a lot in the book about life in general. Getting perspective when you're in those moments of despair or tragedy. Changed my life, maybe for
Yeah.
the better.
Yeah. What's your definition of living in the moment?
Living in the moment to me is always staying present, and it's very hard to do, because we can always say that that's what you got to do, and you got to stay in the present because there's no past, there's no future, there's only the present. It's that kind of thing, which is a great way to think, but it's such a hard thing to execute. I really do try to embrace the good moments, but also accept the bad ones and know that it'll pass. Living in the moment to me is like, if you don't do anything, nothing happens. But if you do something, something could happen. Something might not happen, but you're giving yourself the option for it to happen. So living in the moment is always, to me, giving yourself options for life to unfold. But if you're just sitting there and doing literally nothing, nothing's going to move forward for you. So living in the moment is saying yes, as much as we were talking about saying no, but it's like saying yes to the things that work, that scare you. I don't want it, it's scary, but if I say no to it, then nothing, there's no potential of it happening. If I say yes to it, I'm giving myself a shot at something happening, and I'll have to deal with the rejection or the failure or the whatever. But I've dealt with lots of that, and so it gets a little bit easier each time, I think.
So
You know what I mean?
where's the moment? Are you saying that you create the moment? So if you do it, the doing it is the moment, or is
Yeah.
I'm so is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the
Ah,
doing it is the moment to me. I think
ah.
it's the moment. It's the like the saying yes and then jumping in. If that makes sense, it's the jumping.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's very interesting because, and I wanted to ask you, I find comedians the bravest people in the world, first of all, because I think just, and maybe that's just my limiting belief about, maybe it's not scary at all, but talk to me about that. Like, and actually in the context of what you're just saying, it feels to me, again, from, the neophyte that I am about with talking with comedians, honestly, like, what does that relate to how you approach comedy? That what you just told me and what you just shared with me about in the moment?
Yeah, it does. Because I think as a comedian, we can sometimes, if we're too precious about what we're doing, we'll never get anything done. So you have to be able to, let's say, stand-up comedy. I mean, comedy is such a broad, like, to me, comedy is, there's a lot more than just, stand-up comedy. But we'll use stand-up comedy as an example. Like if I want to try some material, but I'm worried that it's not going to work, I still have to try it. Like I still have to go out and attempt to succeed at it. I will likely fail. The audience will likely won't laugh, but I still have to go out and try to succeed. What I've learned over the years, though, is that no, like, again, you don't get anything by not trying it. So if I don't try the material out, I don't know if it's funny. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it isn't. And I have a joke that nobody ever hears, and it goes to nowhere. It's just for me. Who cares? So if I go out on stage, I know it's probably going to fail, but I might be able to get something from it, or it does really well. And it's like, thank goodness I did that, or it's awful. And it's a terrible experience, but I learned from it. So you just have to kind of do it. And what I've learned over the years too is that it doesn't really, as long as you're not making that moment, like, oh, I'm doing a 5-minute open mic, night, the moment, because I used to do that. I used to put so much pressure on those like 5 minutes. Like I got to go out there and I got to kill it, and I got to have the whole audience, standing or whatever. And then I realized, no, this is a place to train. This is a place to kind of just see what is hitting. And then you come back and you rework it and you edit it and you do it again and you polish that stone. And then when you're ready to bring it to that next level, you go and you rent the theater and you get all the people to come and you do. It's like a theater show, right? Like you rehearse to the point where it looks like you're doing it for the first time. And then you go out there and you perform it. But you can't be afraid to try your stuff first. Otherwise, you're just sitting there writing for no one. And that's no fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, it's very well said. And I was smiling, big smile, because I saw again, very young Daniel assessing the classroom
Yeah.
and wondering what would land.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was always very much like, if I let too much time pass before I told my joke, I knew it was too late. And so I'd leave it. I just wouldn't. And every once in a while I'd be like, oh wait, I still have a beat. And then I would, I would throw it out and it would get a laugh. And I was like, oh, okay, yes. Okay. I did that right. But so timing was such a big thing for me. I loved the timing of jokes and just the right play on word at the right time, or the little remark and that kind of thing. It brings ease to the class. It lets people realize you don't have to take things so seriously. I think that's what I love about comedy as well, is that let's all not take ourselves so seriously, or like, nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just kind of trying to enjoy life, just trying to live in the moment, try to do all that stuff. So,
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. We could just riff off of everything you just told me now, just like forever, but I won't. I'll resist. There's just so much. No, but there's just so much in there. Like there's so much in there. Like it stood out to me that you said you don't gain anything unless you do it, which is an interesting way of saying another, sort of idiom, which is you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
It means the same thing, but you use the different words, which is interesting. And if I were your coach, we'd go into that because
Okay.
do you hear what I'm saying? The distinction,
Yeah.
the distinctions we make and the language we use and the way we perceive things, which you well know, affect the way we operate, affect what we do next, affect the choices we make, affect the lenses that we're looking through, et cetera, et cetera. So that was really fascinating to me. What would you say what's your greatest fear?
Well, it's funny. I said all that other stuff. It's failure, like after I'm like, well, you got to fail. But that is, actually, sometimes my greatest fear is, what other people are going to think of me. I spent a lot of time fearing whether or not people are going to like me. And I've kind of grown past that a little bit, I think, as I've gotten a little bit older and a little more experienced in life. But I think that's probably one of my biggest fears.
Where do you think that comes from? I mean, it's a perfectly natural fear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, it's probably what all of us are hardwired for most of
Maybe
history.
Yeah, I think it probably comes from the fact that when you have like that desire to pursue a dream and go like, I'm gonna get this golden nugget. I'm gonna live this dream, and nothing's gonna stop me. The fear of not achieving what you had envisioned, at a young age, uh, it feels a bit there's been maybe shame attached to it, or like, I just I can't, your pride gets in the way,
Yeah.
uh, and you're like, if I don't attain this, and you're so afraid of not attaining this thing, but there's nothing to attain. What you realize later is like, you're just like, there's nothing to actually, there's no golden carrot, there's no end of this road. It's the journey, it's the whole thing. And you take a second and reflect, and you go, I am doing this was the dream. Like, this is what you had envisioned, in a certain way, like, am I on as many red carpets as I'd like to be on? No. Like that kind of envisionment. Am I performing in front of thousands of people every night? No. But have I got to experience those kind of moments in life? Yes, of course. And am I an actor full time? Is this what I'm doing for a living? Yes, I am. So like, am I a comedian? Yeah. So like, when you really put it in perspective, you're like, that's the dream. That's what you were doing. But it's hard to see that. And you just always fear what's next, sometimes too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, absolutely. If we were to talk again in, I don't know, 2, 3 years, you call
Mhm.
me and you say, Lisa, my God, my life is complete. It's amazing. It's just like it's transformed even, beyond my wildest dreams. What would
Yeah.
you be telling me?
Mm, wow. I like it. I think I would say, uh, that I have found I am a voice uh, for good for a lot of people, and I'm helping like so many people right now, uh, to a place that I could never have imagined, that impact that you can have on other people's lives. I'm directly affecting and like changing people's lives for the better. That would be something that I would love to call you up and tell you that I'm doing on a really grand stage and a grand scale.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's the dream. Yeah, I've always been inspired by comedians and actors and things where I'm like, oh, that changed my life. That was such a big part of my childhood, or, that kind of thing. And I've always wanted to be that, instrument or thing for someone else. Uh,
Mm,
I just feel like it's such a, I don't know, it's just such a great feeling. I've never felt more rewarded than stepping off stage after one of my shows and having an audience member thank me for, sharing my story. uh it's the greatest. It's there's no financial value that you can put on that. And then, you know
yep.
a ticket sale is great, a book sale is great, but it's the impact that it's having on someone that is far far greater. And it's such a hard thing to explain to people, because it's like, yeah, what's the dollar value, what's the bottom line, what's how much money can this thing. And you're like, don't worry, just think about how this could help people maybe, and 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 how much of a greater impact that is than the, you know x amount of dollars it's going to raise or whatever. So
Well,
that's,
hell yeah, but you can have both, I mean, in
you can
fact
have
in
both.
fact, you
Yeah.
really in fact, both go really well together. I like to think of, when you look at how much money you make, as a whatever it is you're doing, someone where impact is important, the dollar signs don't mean, oh, I made this much money. It means I've
Yeah,
made this. It means you're making a lot of impact.
that's a beautiful way of looking at it. I wish I looked at it more like that, too. I wish I looked at it more in that way, because I think there's some guilt about. Uh, I'm really opening up here. There's some guilt about, you know making money, uh, when it comes to like my cancer experience or whatever. When I know genuinely from my heart, I'm really just trying to like uh, help people and like get this story out, because I know the impact that it's had on people, and it's cathartic for me, and it's enjoyable for me because I get to make people laugh and I get to entertain them, and that's what I love doing. And then you're like, but if I make money doing it, it's a weird kind of thing, and I don't have that switch in my brain to say, Dan, the more money, the better the impact, like the bigger the impact. So that's a beautiful way of looking at it. I'm going to take that one and put
Yeah.
it in my pocket as well.
That's yours. That's yours. And obviously, we have our cash projects and we have our, sexy
For sure.
projects,
For sure.
but
For sure.
there's nothing wrong with your sexy project becoming the cash project, so that, I mean, you are the brand of what
Totally. Yeah.
you're the only one that creates the particular impact that you can. You're not the
Yeah.
only one that can, impact people who
Of
relate
course.
to your subject matter, but you're the only one that can do it the way you do it.
Yes.
And in order
Yes.
to
I love
survive,
that.
and all you can do is do it the way you do it,
That's
because
right.
it's just you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
why the hell not, do it the best you can. And when you're doing it the best you can, you're going to get paid to do what you do, and you're going to make more impact. So
There you go. I love
there
it.
it is. Boom.
Boom. Mic drop. I
Yeah,
love
mic
it.
drop. Exactly. What do you know will be true about you no matter what happens?
Um, I will always be generous and kind to people. I treat everybody that I meet uh, the same way. They all have potential to be a great person,
Hmm.
and I'm always willing to chat and talk about you. And I don't that will never change about me. I don't think it ever will.
That's beautiful.
Hmm.
Why is that important to you, do you think?
I think it's important to me because I think when I was younger, I think maybe some people didn't give. I hated seeing bullies. I hated seeing people get mistreated for literally no reason at all. Like, no, people aren't always in control of like of their life and what they're and who they are, and we don't know everybody's story. We don't know what's going on in everybody's life. You don't know what anybody's going through. So I always try to give the benefit of the doubt and say, like, this is maybe coming from this or that. I'm not going to be quick to judge. I try not to be quick to judge on things. So, and I think it just came from, just seeing people, seeing how much better it is to be kinder to people than it is to be uh, harsh and rude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get something out of it, which is beautiful, right? I mean, it's much
Mm-hmm.
like you're entertaining, or you're making people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It fills you. It kind of, it finishes the cycle a little bit too,
Yeah.
right? And it's so funny because, again, I just point out, sorry, this is what I think, but you talked about living in the moment, or we were talking about that. If you don't do it, then you won't know.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. If you don't talk
Yeah.
to the person on the
Yeah.
street or have a conversation with somebody, you don't know.
Yeah. You don't know. And what's wrong with finding out, or what's wrong with like,
Yeah.
taking a couple seconds to potentially help somebody, even if it's just find directions or whatever. You never knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, for sure. And there's also a really good distinction in there, just throwing back into your pot for you, if you want to take it, is that it's a parallel to, how in our industry, everyone talks about networking, you got to network, you got
Yeah.
to meet people.
Yeah.
So that is true. It is true that when you meet people, things open
Yeah.
up. But if the reason
Sure.
is just to go out and network rather than to actually connect,
Yeah.
unattached is a very different thing. Just as doing comedy to make money is a very different thing than making money doing comedy.
Two totally different things. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just a different way of, and you're screaming loud and clear your values. You're living through your values. It's very clear to me. It's beautiful. No, it's really, really beautiful. Can you finish this phrase? Most people think Daniel is, but the truth is Daniel Stolfi is.
Wow. Most people think Daniel is shy, but the truth is Daniel's very outgoing. So it's funny, and I didn't know this about myself, but most people, when they first meet me, very intimidated. Uh, I think just from my look, I don't know. I've never known what it was, and I'm quiet. I'm just a quiet guy kind of thing. Like when I'm at a party, I don't just come in guns blazing, which I used to. I used to be that kind of guy, like, "Hey, how's everybody doing it?" And then I realized, like, I'm like, I just gonna chill out. I'll be here, and if people want to chat, we'll chat. And I think so. People are always like, "Oh, he's so quiet. He's such a like introverted guy." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm like, I'm not at all. It's just that I don't feel the need to be extroverted in this moment. Like I've just met you, like for the first time. So we're gonna try to get to know each other a little bit. I don't need to be like in your face, and I can save that for the stage. There's a whole stage that I get to do that on,
Mm,
and I and I can perform there. It's kind of how I've separated those two kind of worlds. There's so much energy that has to go into performance and doing that thing. And anyway, yeah. So I think that would be it. It's just like that.
yeah,
People think that I'm shy, but I'm actually quite and unapproachable. But I'm actually very, very approachable and very like.
totally.
It's like I was saying, like, hey, well, we'll chat. Like, you just want to talk. Let's talk. But I think I give off an intimidating vibe. That's what I've been told. So
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it
yeah,
is. I love that though, because it kind of speaks to also your kind of quest for, slowing down a little bit. So
yeah,
that idea of like, you don't need to prove anything, and
hmm
people can interpret if they want, and they will find out if they ask. But
yeah,
you don't have to like throw it out there. Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. I could talk to you all day. This has been really
yeah.
lovely. I'm
This has
just
been
gonna ask you a
great.
few more things. I'm not
Sure.
gonna. So let me ask you. Oh, let's do this. Well, yeah, let's do this. So I'm gonna say what makes you. I'm gonna say a word, and then you can say what comes to mind. You can play it rapid fire if you want. You don't have to.
Okay.
You
All
know
right.
what I mean? So if you
Yeah,
if you
yeah, I
think
got it.
that's
Yeah.
fun to just like blurt stuff out, go for it. If
Try
you,
it. Let's
if
try
you
it.
just whatever you want.
Okay.
He's like, okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. What makes you hungry?
Food? Something. I know what you meant, but
What did I mean? I don't know what I meant.
uh, yeah, food. Food makes me hungry. Does that make sense? That does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this question. What came into your head? Be honest with me. What came into your head when I said hungry?
Honestly, food. Food was what first came to head, and I'm like, I can't say that. And then I started like thinking about all these other things, like
That's what I'm
money.
interested in.
Does
What were the other
money make
things?
you?
What were the other
Uh,
things?
uh, well, like money came into my head. I was like, money makes me hungry. Like, as in, like, I
Yeah,
want to get money. Um,
interesting.
yeah,
Isn't it interesting though that like no, hungry is such a good question because
yeah,
and
that's a good
and
question.
it's funny, I discovered this along the way. It's not why I did it. Like it wasn't my plan to do this, but this is what's unfolded is
Yeah.
I always ask people these questions and hungry is always one of them. And it's usually it's the first one usually. And we've been talking deeply. And so
Mm,
someone that is really, trying to be on their game
yeah.
will then say something very esoteric. Well, art,
Yeah.
great art,
Yeah.
someone
I
really
was trying
honest.
profound. So I was like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah. And
know.
and it's so funny because did you see how you hesitated? You were so ready to go fast.
Yeah.
And if you had said your first thought, which was food, which is
Yeah.
true, and like, well, it's true.
Yeah.
But everything else slowed you down. All the other thoughts of what you should say, what's she gonna think, blah blah blah.
Totally.
All
Totally.
that stuff, just FYI, all those things are pay attention to them
Okay.
because those are things that block your energy.
Yeah.
And you don't have to change. You can still decide that you want to show up for Lisa in an esoteric way with her question. You can still decide that,
No.
or show up however
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to, but to be at choice rather than default, like, oh, okay, this is a podcast. It's so funny, right?
Oh,
Don't
fully.
don't
That's what's
screw
going on.
up. Don't,
That's what's going on. Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
But this is an improv game, basically.
Mm,
And but and the whole thing is to get out of your head. Just say the first thing that comes, and
mhm.
it was one of the things with improv that I always had to work on because as a comedian, you're so used to writing everything down and developing it, and then
Testing it.
then it's ready to perform. Improv is like first thing in your head. I don't care what it is, say it, and you're like, no, it's going to sound stupid, or it's not the right word. I didn't say it right, and you're constant. It's about shutting off those voices, right, and just kind of.
The brain freaks out when it doesn't know context. That's what happened.
Yeah, totally. And you saw it. I mean, I don't think anybody else. I mean,
yeah, it was beautiful. No, it's so cool though, because if I had said to you, in the context of life, what makes you happy? That would have been easy.
Yeah, art.
Yeah,
laughter.
Exactly.
Theater.
Anyway, humor. Sorry, I digress. But I just found that so interesting. I'll edit it so you sound brilliant. But no.
Don't. This is better. This is
no. I know. Yeah, I think it is. It is really interesting because we all do it. All right, but here comes more questions. Okay. What makes you sad?
People's pain.
Sad. Mm-hmm. What inspires you?
Others. People who go after what they want. Inspires me.
What frustrates you?
Pandemic frustrates me.
What makes you laugh?
My daughter makes me laugh. She's one.
Oh.
She makes me laugh. She's funny. I think she has the timing. I think she got it from me. We'll see.
Wow, that's so cool. So can she actually know that she's going to make you? Do you see her doing that?
There's just things that she's doing that are too well timed that you're like, I don't know if she knows she's doing it, but I've seen other kids and they're not delivering it like she is. So it's an interesting thing to witness. And you don't know if it's a natural thing that she just sort of understands when to make that shout out to make us laugh, or it's just random fluke every time that she's doing it. But
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, context, right? Who really knows? Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What makes you angry?
People who make me wait.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And finally, what makes you grateful?
My friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what are the top 3 things that have happened so far today?
Doing this here with you. This has been amazing. I took my dog to the vet and everything was great. Apparently he was such a good boy, which is always nice to hear. What else happened that was great today? Oh, got a very nice email from someone that we are potentially working with professionally, which is very nice. Yeah.
Amazing. And what's something you're looking forward to in the future?
Going to Italy. I'm actually going to a wedding in Italy, traveling for the first time in, I don't know, 3-4 years, right? And so very excited.
Listen, Daniel, it's been such a joy speaking with you. Really, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. This is great. I learned a lot about myself in this.
Oh, that's terrific. I've been speaking today with Daniel Stolfi. Thanks for listening. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. And remember to live in the moment. In music, stop time is that beautiful moment where the band is suspended in rhythmic unison, supporting the soloist to express their individuality. In the moment, I encourage you to take that time and create your own rhythm. Until next time, I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks for listening.